The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Back with your afternoon newscast at 2:30, I'm Jeannie Lin. Burnaby RCMP arrested 3 men in connection to a large theft of stolen goods from last year. Several shipping containers with food, toilet paper, paper towels, and beer were stolen last August. The value of the stolen goods totaled to a value of $125,000. Burnaby RCMP reported that the men faced charges of theft, possession, and trafficking of stolen property. The ongoing trade war between the U.S. and Canada has left both sides wondering how it will affect their livelihoods in small businesses. Our reporter Isabella Vertone spoke with Granville Shop Art Gallery owner about how the potential tariffs have affected her business.
Janine Kingwell is the owner of Ukama Art Gallery on Granville Island in Vancouver. She details how the U.S. threats and tariffs have impacted her clients and sales the past couple months. As she is working on Granville Island, which draws 10.5 million tourists a year, according to Tourism Vancouver, she hopes her sales won't be further affected.
Well, the first month when the tariffs were first announced, it just crushed us. You know, I've never seen sales as poor as it was. It totally crushed us, so it was very concerning. Then came April and now May, and it's amazing. So it's as if it's never happened.
Kingwell hopes the tariffs won't continue, especially as the summer approaches, as that is her most lucrative selling time. Isabella Vertone, BCIT News.
Joining us in the studio is our reporter, Isabella Vertone. Isabella, how have the rising tensions with the U.S. affected her art gallery?
Hi, Jeannie. So, the tariffs have affected her art gallery negatively because some of her customers have been completely shocked by the 10% extra fee when they purchase art from her gallery and decide to ship it back to the U.S., which has made a couple sales fall through.
And has she seen a dramatic difference in sales?
No, she's seen a steady sales track. However, she's hoping that this summer the tourists will still be coming to Granville Island and buying art, even though it has to be shipped back to the U.S. She can hopefully ask her customers to overlook the 10% extra fee.
Thank you for joining us, Isabella. BC has started opening involuntary care institutions for individuals who are dealing with mental health crisis and who are in jail. One MLA believes this involuntary care should be accessible to others. Reporter Matea Hukulek has the story.
Compassionate care intervention refers to legislation that allows others to request treatment for someone who has been dealing with substance addictions and shows signs of being unable to make the decision by themselves. This is something MLA and official opposition critic of mental health and addictions, Claire Rattay, is fighting for. Compassionate care intervention is in an act Alberta got approved in April of this year. Rattay says that BC has involuntary care, but that accessing it heavily relies on interaction with the justice system.
It frustrates me to no end that we've got people in this province, and I'd be willing to wager that there are hundreds, if not thousands of them, that would like access to this kind of programming that have not been able to access it because we just don't have it. It doesn't exist.
People have critiques about the idea of involuntary care, but Rattay states it is a step which allows more people to receive help. Matea Hukulak, BCIT News.
Our reporter Matea Hukulak is here in the studio to talk more about this issue. Matea, what do critics of involuntary care say?
Yeah, so a lot of critics, when it comes to involuntary care, say that it creates a lot of trauma for the people going into those facilities rather than helping them. And then as well, this was a main argument when Alberta passed the Compassionate Care Act, was that there's no facts to back up that it actually helps anyone.
And how does support systems compare in northern BC compared to southern BC?
Yeah. So when I spoke with Claire Rattay, she pretty much told me that it doesn't compare at all. She spoke a lot about how There's not many facilities up north. There's a lot of spread out communities. And there's a lot of indigenous communities which already don't have a lot of support from the government.
Thank you for joining us in the studio, Matea. BC Premier David Eby will embark on a 10-day Asia trip in June to Japan, South Korea, and Malaysia. He says this trade mission will help the province become the new engine of Canada. The trip will deepen ties with BC's trading partners and find new ones for natural resources in demand. Key BC exports to Japan include energy, lumber, and fish products. As the spring lobster season begins, harvesters in Atlantic Canada are dissatisfied with the prices they're getting for their catches. The Coldwater Lobster Association's Bernie Berry says the downturn is partly the result of the economic turmoil from the tariffs.
Even the threats of tariffs now have just got the whole industry edgy. A lot of buyers are reluctant to hold as much product as they used to because there's absolutely no certainty in the marketplace.
In the U.S., Walmart reported its profits slipped in the first quarter and must raise prices due to tariff costs. The American conglomerate operates with low-price model, and it's projecting sales growth in the 3.5 to 4.5% in the second quarter.
Walmart says it has no choice but to raise prices due to higher costs from the tariffs implemented by President Trump. The company posting strong sales in the first quarter and saying it expects growth in the second quarter as well. However, like other companies, Walmart is not issuing a profit outlook, saying the chaotic on-again, off-again tariffs are making it too difficult to make a fiscal prediction.
American consumers increased spending last month on retail goods in an effort to get ahead of Donald Trump's tariffs on imported goods. Meanwhile, wholesale prices dropped unexpectedly by 0.5%. Economists suggest the impact from Trump's tariffs will more likely be seen in June or July.
Retail sales last month came in 0.1% above April, according to the Census Bureau, down from the 1.4% surge in March. Sales of cars and trucks slowed dramatically from one month to the next. Separately, the Labor Department reports that weekly jobless claims were unchanged last week after a substantial decline the week before.
Hundreds of thousands of older Americans with decade-long debts are at risk of having their Social Security checks seized. The Trump administration is collecting defaulted student loans, and all extensions and grace periods are over. The government will also start garnishment of paychecks and tax refunds. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says the number of Social Security beneficiaries who have had their payments garnished has increased by 3,000% over the past 2 decades, plunging many Americans into financial hardship. Harvard University's Magna Carta, which was assumed to be a cheap copy worth $30, is concluded to be a rare version from the year 1300, issued by King Edward I. This copy is worth millions of dollars, being one of 7 in the world, but the university does not plan to sell. President Trump's tour of the Middle East ends today. He signed a guest book in Saudi Arabia and said he had a great trip.
We'll be leaving tomorrow, as you know. Almost destination unknown, because we're getting close. Could you be here? Could you be there? But probably going back to Washington, D.C. tomorrow.
China is criticizing the U.S. ban of Huawei's Ascend advanced computer chips everywhere in the world. A Chinese Commerce Ministry official also blasted U.S. tariffs on imports of Chinese steel and aluminum, following an agreement on a 90-day pause made last weekend by the two countries. China is imposing a 10% tariff on U.S. products during the 90-day negotiations. Yesterday, scientists in Australia uncovered a 350-million-year-old fossil footprint belonging to a reptile-like creature. Paleontologist Per Alberg of Uppsala University in Sweden confirms this discovery shows animals emerge out of the ocean faster than previously thought.
It pushes the original reptiles back in time about 35 or 40 million years, and that in turn means that very large parts of the early evolution of tetrapods happened much earlier than we used to think.
Associated Press correspondent Karen Shamaz reports on a U.S. basketball player facing drug charges in Indonesia.
An American basketball player has been arrested for allegedly attempting to smuggle illegal drugs into Indonesia. Jared Dwayne Shaw from Dallas was arrested on May the 7th after police raided his apartment and found 132 pieces. An American basketball player has been arrested for allegedly attempting to smuggle illegal drugs into Indonesia. Jared Dwayne Shaw from Dallas was arrested on May the 7th after police raided his apartment and found 132 pieces of cannabis candy. Shaw has played for several clubs in the Indonesian Basketball League since 2022 and signed a contract with Tangerang Hawk last year. The arrest followed a tip from the airport's customs.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. I'm Avia Boulay, and these are your sports headlines at 2:45. Tyler Steenbergen, a former member of Canada's 2018 World Juniors team, completed his testimony today. He stated through testimony that Cal Foote and Dylan Dubé both phoned Steenbergen after learning that Hockey Canada was conducting an investigation into the alleged sexual assault. Both Foote and Dubé allegedly asked Steenbergen not to reveal what he'd seen the players do the night of the alleged incident. Steenbergen testified that he would only share with Hockey Canada investigators what he'd seen, only if asked. Leading into playoff hockey, puck drops at 6:30 tonight for Game 5 between the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. The Stars lead the series 3-1. The Jets need to clutch the win to stay in the race.
All that matters is right here, right now. Just got to do whatever we can to get a win tonight and try to stay alive, really. I think we've done a really good job of staying in the moment, staying present. Whatever the game was in the past, taking what we need out of it and kind of bearing it and moving on and confident that this group can put a good effort tonight.
We're in about 6 right now. This is Game 5. We got to make sure we win, and we'll worry about what happens after tonight. Make sure we get the job done.
The winners of the second round series will face the Edmonton Oilers. Mud balls are dominating the conversation at the PGA Championship. Scottie Scheffler and Xander Schauffele both made double bogey from the middle of the 16th fairway with mud splotches on their golf balls. The PGA of America chose to play the balls as it lies, despite several days of rain that led to the balls picking up mud when they landed in the fairway. Scheffler was proud of his 69, but he wasn't happy with the decision. He says his practice is how to control the golf ball, but mud makes it a guessing game. Hockey tournament is underway in Sweden and Denmark. Canada beats Austria 5-1 in the Ice Hockey World Championship today. The Reds and White remain undefeated in the Ice Hockey World Championship, winning all 3 of their previous games. Canada's lineup features several NHL stars, including Sidney Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, and Marc-André Fleury. Canada's next game in the tournament will be against Slovakia May 17th at 11:20 a.m. Moving on to international soccer, both Europa League finalists are playing tomorrow. Aston Villa are hosting Tottenham Hotspur, while Manchester United will be traveling to London to face Chelsea. Both Europa League finalists have a chance at playing in the Champions League next season, despite barely scraping relegation from the Premier League. Here is Manchester United coach Ruben Amorim speaking about the needs for this matchup.
The best way is to face the game like we should face the game, is to win the game. We need to perform. We need to win points in Premier League, and that is the feeling. And that was we talk about that after West Ham. So we need to improve in the way we face competition, stay focused in every moment of the game, because against West Ham we had clear situations to score in the first
Manchester United sits 16th, while Tottenham is at 17th of the Prem. The decisive match between Espanyol and Barcelona today was briefly halted after a car plows through fans outside the stadium. Prior to kickoff, a car plowed into several Espanyol fans, leaving multiple people injured. In protest, Espanyol fans chose not to attend the match, leaving their seats empty. According to Mundo Deportivo, a Spanish sports news station, claimed that the driver lost control of the car. Many people were left injured, but none seriously hurt or killed. Barcelona did end up winning the game 2-0 with goals from star boy Yamin Lamal and Ferran Lopez, giving Barcelona their 28th league title. Vancouver has been selected as the host city for the FIFA conference ahead of the 2026 World Cup. The 76th FIFA Congress will be held on April 30th of 2026, bringing all 211 members of the world's governing soccer body to Canada ahead of the World Cup. Canada wins out over co-hosts the United States and Mexico. This Congress will be a boom of tourism, with 3 delegates from each country, plus representatives of 6 conference. The world will be governing body usually stages a Legends game around the meeting, drawing in familiar soccer faces to the pitch. Those were your sports headlines at 2:45. Join us for more sports action at 3:15 with Riley Cunningham. I'm Avia Boulay, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.